everyone, this is Dawn. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make 2 quick, clean and simple cards using Isabella card making and Isabella papers. So let's get started. This is the stamp set. It's Isabella card making, and instead of using those images on the front there that you see, I'm going to use the sentiments that are in that stamp set. Okay. So I'm going to use lemonade, black, and bluebird cardstock along with the pattern papers from the Isabella collection. Okay, I'm going to make 2 cards. Let's get started with the first one. I'm going to use the dark side of lemonade, and I'm cutting this at an A2 card size, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And then that excess there I'm going to use to stamp my sentiment, and then I'll be cutting it out using a circle die. Then my black cardstock I'm going to cut at 4 by 5 1/4 so that I leave a border of lemonade around it. And then I'm going to cut my pattern paper at 3 1/4 by 3 3/8, so I leave a teensy tiny black border around it. And I'm just looking at my pattern to make sure that I've cut off the part that I want showing. So cut your papers strategically. And then the flip side, I'm going to use this for the base part of the card. I'm cutting that at 3 3/8 by 2 inches. And it's going to overlap just a little bit, but I'm going to cover up that overlap using some shimmer trim. Okay. So we'll get that out of the way, and then I'm going to flip over my Versamat for stamping on the soft side. And I'm just using black ink, and I'm going to stamp my sentiment right in the center because I'm going to cut that sentiment out using the circle die. Okay, so I have a happy birthday, and then I'll flip my Versamat over and bring in my Big Shot and cut this out really quick. So you can make a bunch of cards using this pattern. If you need a card super fast, this is a good pattern to use, and it still looks really cool. It turns out pretty. Okay, so let's start building our card. I'm going to get a card base out. It's an A2 card base, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I'm just going to tack everything down using tape runner. These are also good cards if you're going to be sending them in the mail. They're not bulky, and they don't have to be hand canceled. And it just takes a single stamp. Okay, so I'm putting the lemonade down on the base, and then I'm going to put the black down. The next card, I'll show you another trick on using your shimmer trim, but this one I'm just going to layer it up. So I've got the black down, and then I'm going to put that larger piece. I'm looking at the pattern before I actually adhere it to see what it's going to look like. And then the pattern paper, I'm just leaving a teensy tiny black border around the edges, and then I'll layer up with that smaller piece at the bottom. And it does overlap just a smidge, but that's okay. And then I have some black shimmer trim. So I'm going to trim this using my trimmer so that it's straight. And you certainly don't have to do that. It does tend to chew up your blades. And it's self-adhesive, so I'm going to place this down. And then I'm going to just trim off the excess. And so it's black over black, so it's pretty easy to straighten that out and trim it off. And then I'm going to put my sentiment down using some regular 3D foam tape. Get that down, and then there's my finished card. Super simple, but pretty. Okay, next card, same design. So I'm going to cut my bluebird cardstock, and I'm looking at it just to make sure if I want to use the lighter side or the darker side, and I decided on the lighter side just because my sentiment will pop a little bit better on the light side. So I'm cutting this at 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 because it will be the base, and then that excess I'm going to use for my sentiment, and then black at 4 by 5 1/4. And then my pattern papers. So I'm looking at the pattern on this, and also cutting this strategically. And I decided that I wanted as much of those squares as possible. So I'm going to trim off this little smidge here so that I can get a full square. And then I'm cutting it at 3 1/4 by 3 3/8. And I decided I wanted those patterns on my card front. And I'm also looking at my black cardstock. Sometimes the corners get chewed up a little bit, so making sure it's clean. And then this other patterned paper is going to be the base parts. That's at 2 inches by 3 3/8. Okay, so now we're ready to start stamping. Stamp thank you. Because this is a smaller sentiment, I'm going to use a smaller circle. So I'm going to bring my Big Shot in and cut that circle out. We'll run that through. So all of these supplies are currently available in my online store, and with the exception of the circles, those will be coming in soon. And I'll make a list of everything that I used in the description below, and you can shop at the URL in the upper right corner of your screen. So I'm going to layer this card same way as the other one, just with Tombow tape runner. And get the light side of Bluebird down. And then this time I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I'm going to put my pattern paper on that black piece of cardstock first, with leaving a little border around the edges. And then I'll layer it up with that other piece of pattern paper. And then I'll bring my shimmer trim in. So I'm just kind of eyeballing it and using the measurements on my Versamat there. And then I'm going to put my shimmer trim down, just from the black side to the other black side, and then I'll just trim off the excess. A little bit easier to get that down. And then I'll put the whole panel on the card base, leaving the border of the light side of Bluebird. And I'll put my sentiment down using the regular 3D foam tape. Clean and simple, easy and quick. And there's my finished card, and both of them together. I think they're pretty. Let this pattern paper pop, right? And there's both of them. So I appreciate you watching my video today. If you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, please do so. I would really appreciate it. And thanks for watching.